Apparently, groceries are something old, and I don't know. We're not. The stake starts now. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Stakes. I'm Tara Setmayer, and this is the Michelle Kinney, and we are the Seneca Project. And guess what
Yes,
else
we
we
are.
are? Guess what else we are? We're Webby winners.
We are. And because of that, I hope that you will all like and subscribe wherever you are watching, specifically YouTube. It really helps us to make sure people see our content that when we can possibly be recognized for a Webby for, because that really just helps the mission. It helps all of us. And it really is an honor to be recognized for this hard work that, we have all put our hearts and souls into, including the people who support us and click and like and share and donate. It's just, it really just took a village, and we're so proud.
Indeed, we are. And it's funny, like as the show is starting just now, our advisory board member and one of our favorite people in the whole world, Mary Trump, was calling me. And I was
Oh,
just like, Mary, we're live on air. Mary could not join us. She wished us the best on our Webby win. And
yeah.
we've got a lot to talk about tonight because there's been so much crazy. I mean, Donald Trump literally said that groceries are an old term, which is just nutso. This foreign trip that he's on, he's been saying some wacko stuff. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Qatar. We're going to talk about the frickin' plane. We're going to talk about this crazy shit coming out of RFK Jr.'s mouth about vaccines, and we shouldn't listen to him, and what they're trying to do with the abortion pill. We freaking told you so. We're going to get into all of that. And there's also some stuff going on within the Democratic Party, some internecine warfare happening where, once again, the stars of the party, who are the fighters, are being sidelined, like my girl Jasmine Crockett, who we saw at the Webbies. It's just a lot. And Jake Tapper and his freaking book about Biden trying to destroy his legacy. I
If
mean, I
I have
can't.
to hear, we're going to talk about it, but
Yes,
I'm just, here we are again
I
in
know.
like the June, July of 2024, when all the white men love to hear themselves talk. We're going on and on and on. I'm talking like David Axelrod, David Pluff, all the Pod Save guys, Jake Tapper. I'm just like, here we go again, where I have to listen to all of you, just go on and on and on about, by the way, something that doesn't matter anymore because
Right.
Joe Biden didn't run for president. And like that, we can go and talk about that all day long if we want to, but it's just not important. What's important right now is what Donald Trump is doing to the country,
Yeah.
and the attention that they are not paying to that, and giving that the same amount of
Uh,
seriousness and urgency. So,
yeah, we're
anyways,
gonna get into that
I
because
know.
we have thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts on this, but we do want to start off because this week we were at the Webbies on Monday in New York City, and thanks to all of you who voted and supported us, we were winners. And the ceremony finally happened on Monday, and it was fabulous, and we had a great time. Our good friend Jim Acosta was with us as our guest at our table. And Jim is the nicest guy. He's so much fun to hang out with. And I posted some pictures on Instagram.
I put some photos in
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
let's put,
thing.
let's
Let's
show it.
show
Let's
our
show it.
vacation photos for the
Yes,
family.
yes. So there's our Webby portrait photo with our
Yep.
little award.
Yep. We met on Sunday to do like a little cocktail party thing. If you didn't know this, I'm very short, so you will see how short I am in all of these
My mom
photographs.
was like, "You, Michelle makes you look like an Amazon." I'm only 5'6", so I was like, "Well, Michelle's teeny tiny, but she's
I know,
mighty."
I'm very, very teeny weeny,
Here
but
we are.
here we are on the red carpet. So going from left to right, That is Aiden and Anna. Anna's been on this show before. If you watched, she has the grandparents and great grandparent who survived the Holocaust. She's also very talented, coordinating producer, creative producer with her husband, who's to her left. They made American Girl with us, and they are old friends of mine and have been so generous and wonderful. They've actually made most of our like big production ads, with the
Yep.
exception of one. So we love it. I can't even talk. We love Anna and Aiden. They are as much as a part of this team than anybody. And, hopefully soon we can get working on something again soon. So that's that. So then we
Well,
have,
just to interject there, they,
Mhm,
again, those types of ads like American Girl, like A Time
mhm,
for Choosing, like Hope, We Must Win, those are our big hero ads, and those require money. So
mhm.
more that people financially support us, the more that we can do those big ads. That's
That's right.
really what it comes down to. It's not that we don't have the ideas, it's not that we don't have the team, we just don't have the funds. So
Yeah.
more that people support us, the more that we're able to put those types of really powerful ads out, not only produce them, but get them placed, because it costs money to place them too.
Yeah, because
So
we don't want to just make. I mean, the organic social stuff is important, but if we're going to spend money to make ads, we want to make sure people see them
yep,
beyond just
right.
Instagram and Twitter and stuff.
That's
So
right. So
so it
just to
is
be
really like,
honest, right?
yeah,
It's just to be honest that that's what it takes to do that. And
hmm,
so if people wonder, well, how come you guys haven't? Well, it's a matter of fundraising. We're
that's
working
right.
hard to do it. People need to spread the word. For those who
Yes,
can't help us financially, it's important to share our content, to get it out there so people see what we're
yep,
doing, because we're still, in the scheme of things, we're less than a year old as an
hmm,
organization. So,
yes, and
um,
look at
and
us
look
on
at
the
us.
on the
Then
red
we're on the
carpet.
red carpet. So I'll
We,
pick it up from here. So we've
yeah, yeah,
got
yeah. You go
Crystal.
ahead.
Yeah, we've got Crystal McQuarrie McGuire, who's our national finance chair. She's also incredibly accomplished in her own right as a documentarian. She's a lawyer. Her husband ran for mayor of New York
Hmm.
City, Ray McGuire.
Yep.
She's amazing and a goddess. And then obviously there's me. And then there's Jim. And then there's Michelle. You see, she's
Yay.
little. But she's not the only little one, because our good friend Julie Roginski was there too. They're both little minis, but mighty. Julie was there. And then in the red is the incredibly talented Laura Bell Bundy, who is the singer, songwriter, and performer of American Girl. It wouldn't
Hmm.
exist without her song. So she made it, and she is a spitfire and a ball of fun. And
Yep.
if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw, I don't know if I posted the pictures of her getting down at the after
Oh my
party.
God. I know she was like
She
getting
was
down.
killing
She's
it.
such a good little
She
dancer
was
too. It's
killing it.
funny.
And then we have Marcus Flowers, who runs Hold the Line. He ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Marcus has been incredibly supportive of
Very, very,
Seneca.
very support, and like really made this night
Yes.
possible.
And
And
we're just
so,
grateful
and
to him for that.
so grateful. And so just here's some more pictures
Yeah.
of all the things. There's the two of
Yes,
us,
there we are.
you know us. And here's just the ladies of
Yeah,
Seneca, more ladies of Seneca, our
our
table,
table.
and all the way to the right is Owen. He works with Hold the Line. He's been,
Yeah.
a great friend to
Marcus's right
Seneca.
hand.
Yep.
All
Uh,
right. So here
what?
at our table, well, there is our 5-word speech, except it's there's missing a word. We
Yeah, it's
don't
supposed to
have.
be
It's
never,
supposed to
and
be
that was my
never.
fault. That was
Nah,
my
that's
fault. I
okay.
typed it wrong.
Do
But
you have
anyways.
who sat next to us? Do you have our
Oh,
Walton God?
yes, I'm getting
Okay,
there.
good.
I'm
Okay,
getting
good.
there. So yes, blah 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 blah. There's an astronaut, Kelly Girardi. If you don't know her, she's wonderful. We got to talk to her. Some filmmakers that are just wonderful. And then who is that?
Are there White Lotus fans in the house? Are there Righteous Gemstones fans in the house? That is the Walton Goggins, who is the it man in Hollywood right now. And
Yeah.
he had a hell of a week. He started off at the Met Gala last Monday, then he hosted SNL, and
Hmm.
then he was at the Webbies in
And he
what.
was at the upfronts earlier that day, by the way.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes. And so, I mean, we have a cool video of him where he
Oh,
says
Marcus, we love you.
he was talking to us for quite some time, because our table was literally next to his. And the funny
Hmm.
thing about that is that both Jim Acosta and Laura Bell Bundy were like fanning over Walton Goggins. And I'm like, and Julie too. And I was like, okay, we're going to go talk to him. So, of course, I walked over and I said, hi, I'm so and so. Jim Acosta is our friend and at our table, and is a huge fan of yours and would love to talk to you, as is Tony Award nominated actress and songwriter and singer performer Laura Bell Bundy. we're all fans of your work. And then I started talking to him about his SNL monologue, and he was the absolute
Oh my God.
nicest
He talked to
guy.
us forever. I mean, here's
Like
a video.
10 minutes.
Shout out to Webbies and we're winners! 2025!
Could
I
not
love the
get
ride
enough.
on. I love the ride on at the end. He started that winners as we were talking. He's like, "We're all winners," and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I put it on, on video to say they were all Webby Award winners.
Yeah. Because I wasn't
Cool,
going to
cool
come over
guy.
because I get really like weird and I don't want to bother celebrities. You're
Yeah,
like,
but yeah. But at an event like that, it's not
I know.
bothering them just to be like, we actually had something to say. We wanted to give
Yeah.
him credit for his success, and he's also someone who gives a lot of credit to the women in his life.
Yes, and
'cause he
that's
was
really what I
raised by-
talked to him about
Right.
the most.
Right, because he was raised by all women, and he honored his mother at Saturday Night Live. He always honors his
very
wife.
nice.
He was super, super, super nice. So that was the highlight of our night there. And it was funny just to see, like, everybody else fangirling over Walton Goggins. And I didn't get it at first. Like, I'm like, I mean, he's a good actor. I enjoy him as an actor, but I didn't get kind of like the it factor about him until I talked to him.
Yeah,
And then I said, I get it. I get
he's
it.
a star,
I get it.
for sure.
Yeah, there's something about him. I get it. So
yeah,
that was our night. We had a great time. We'll post more pictures because we've like literally been going nonstop since we came back.
It's been very, very busy week.
Because the news doesn't stop. So a little of our Webby adventure. It was really incredible.
And I just want to give a shout out to Marcus. I don't know if you saw his comment.
Oh,
he wrote to us and said that, he was very, very complimentary, and we just want to say how grateful we are to Marcus. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcus. We love you. And Marcus also said in our group chat that it was the top 3 best nights in New York City that he's ever had.
Yeah.
So,
And listen, we don't get to do this very often.
No,
like at all. So
we
it really
don't.
was such a treat to see everyone too. So
it's so true. So follow us on our socials if you're not already, both on our personals as well, because we'll be posting some more Webby stuff. It's just like I said, I haven't had a chance, and there's like so much more and a lot of fun. And there may or may not be a video of Jim Acosta dancing. Jim said he would pay us not to post it, but I think I'm gonna.
I already did.
I'm definitely gonna post it.
He's like this, and he's got like a beer in his hand, and then you can hear me complaining about the lighting. I was like, "Why is it so bright? It needs to be
Yes, that was funny.
It was like not me complaining about the lighting.
Oh my God, it was so funny. But you see Jim and he's doing his little 2-step, and then there's a couple songs. So anyway,
again, like you meet people in person, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's so tall." I had no idea how tall he was.
He is tall.
And even when, like, in my 4-inch stilettos I was wearing all night, he still was like 1,000 feet taller than me. So
yeah.
Anyways,
so thank you for sharing and indulging us in that. Like we said, we don't get to do that much, and it was really cool. And I can't wait for our Webby statues to come so I can put it right in the background, prominently featured. You already have like 5 of them.
Well, yeah, but this one's
a little extra special.
Well, this one is the best one.
Yes,
so you know what I mean?
For all the reasons.
Yeah.
For all the reasons. And for those who know, they know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to talk about what's actually happening in the real world. Donald Trump on this foreign trip has been a lot. And the more he opens his mouth, the more he sounds like a jackass.
I mean, first of all, he saluted Saudi generals. Let's see.
Of course he did.
He's got Elon Musk with him too. So I think that part is really important. That because I'm hearing people in the media talk about this. Well, Elon Musk has he's been voted off the island. I'm like, no, he hasn't. I'm like, he's a PR disaster, and his like presence in the public eye was hurting Tesla and his bottom line. So he's stepping back, but he's not. He's still very, very, very much around. He, I think that we're probably going to find out that he's, got some Qatari deal with Starlink or some other bullshit. It's going to be something.
They had Teslas in the motorcade with the camels. They had Teslas in the motorcade.
You mean
Teslers? They had the Teslers.
Well, and
gross.
And so I have not been following the timeline of the visit per se, but I know that he addressed the troops, right?
Yeah, at Al Udeid. Air base.
Yes, as did Pete Hegseth,
Yeah.
And he's just, I mean, here's the thing. Like, Donald Trump, he's a whole lot of things that we could just go on and on about. But he's in decline. Like, he's losing his mind.
Yes.
Like,
He's
very
been losing his
visibly.
mind.
I know. I mean, we
Mary
know
talks
this.
about it all the time.
Right.
Speaking of Mary Trump, she talks about it all the time, and she would know.
Right. And here's a clip of him talking about destroying ISIS. And I just want to point out that he's not living in the same reality or
No.
mental reality that the rest
No.
of us are, because he's got little people who follow him around all day long and tell him what he wants to hear. And there's a bubble that he lives in, and anything else that anybody says or hears is either lying or out to get him, and then they're just like, no, Mr. President, like, you're right. That did happen. So here we go.
Yeah.
Right now, sir. I said, well, I don't know. That's a lot. It's a lot of people. Well, these people are not good people, sir. These are not good people. You'll feel better about it. Well, they're not good people, but they're people, aren't they? And he goes, I said, you know what? Why don't you buzz them for a little while, and maybe after a day or two of buzzing them, they'll surrender. They don't know about surrendering, sir. Well, maybe they'll raise the white flag. They don't have a white flag, sir. I said, well, give it a shot anyway. He said, all we're going to do is take a couple of bullet holes in our wings. You guys know about that, right? And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And he calls up and says, let me do the job, sir. I said, all right, do the job. And we defeated 100% of the ISIS caliphate in just a very short little period of time. Totally different from what I was told in Washington, D.C. by a bunch of frickin' losers, okay? Losers.
I can't. Okay. All right. First of all, I've actually, in full disclosure, I have been to Qatar. I've actually been on that base, and it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's incredibly strategically important for us launching missions into Iraq and that part of the world.
Right.
One of my Harvard kids is in the military. She is in intelligence, and she spent 6 months there as well as part of some of the stuff that we do there. Those folks are listening to him thinking, what the actual fuck? Because what they're doing there is very serious stuff. And he's over here blathering on about absolute nonsense. And I think, was Hegseth drunk when he gave his remarks?
I think so. Probably.
I mean, we have a friend of ours that has a husband who is still active duty, where Hegseth was at a conference, and a lot of the special forces guys were like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? They were like horrified by him with this warfighter language and bullshit.
He's like over his skis. I mean, they all are.
think?
None of them have any idea. I mean, what little morsel of knowledge that you have is, and then you're getting up in front of people who are 10,000 times more experienced and smarter than you and more sober than you, and you're trying to tell them how it's going to be? I don't think so.
I just don't. I don't know. Between that, I mean, every single time he spoke in public, he said something else more embarrassing. Like every single time. Hegseth. That's funny. Yes. I mean, it's funny, but it's not, because this guy is in charge of our military. Like I just can't. He cosplays as being this tough guy, warfighter.
Yeah.
Dude, you were in the National Guard. Like, stop.
Yeah. I know.
But anyway, not denigrating anyone who's in the National Guard.
No, but it's like, come on, like, let's be real.
He doesn't have the gravitas to be the Secretary of Defense, for fuck's sake. He does not.
No.
And it shows every time he's out in public. And Donald Trump is an absolute embarrassment as the commander-in-chief. Absolute embarrassment. So he was also, do we have the groceries thing? He also was speaking about the costs of goods, because as we all know, this tariff war is a disaster. And prices are going up. So, of course, Donald Trump's going to go out there and lie his ass off and say that, oh, no, prices are going down, because he's a propagandist and can't tell the truth. So,
and I honestly, and it's always a mix of like what he thinks is actually happening and what people are telling him is happening, and him lying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think it's just like kind of goes like this. It's just like, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Here's the clip. He's nuts.
Jobs, because to me the most important jobs, I want jobs, and we have costs are way down. Groceries, they have a term grocery, it's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying in food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound. But
What?
groceries are down, costs are down, eggs are down. They were, first week they were hitting me with eggs were up 200%, and now they're down to a number that is amazing. We're down 97, 98% from where they were. And everybody, they said, you won't have eggs for Easter. Well, we had everybody had eggs for Easter at a very reasonable price. At the White House, we had our little Easter egg roll, and we had hundreds of thousands of eggs purchased. They said, you have to go out and buy plastic eggs. That didn't work out.
That's bullshit. They never use real eggs. Okay, so he's making that up. They use the plastic eggs because it would be a disaster and not cost effective to waste all those eggs. There's like 100,000 people at the White House for the Easter egg roll, just as I'm saying. I mean, again,
which wasn't there sponsors this year?
Yeah, they had corporate sponsors this year. It was which has never happened before.
No,
because
never.
The White House is up because the White House is up for sale.
No,
as we've been saying for a long time.
Tell me, Tara, where is JD Vance? Because I don't remember. Is he with him as well, or is he here?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because Marco Rubio is over there somewhere.
Yeah, Marco's over there because there's funny pictures of him looking absolutely
Isn't he like in Turkey or something? I feel like I've been like
or Marco.
Because they were asking Trump about like, oh, are you surprised that Putin's not in Turkey? And he's like, I don't know, I'd go. Well, maybe I don't go. And then he went on and on and on about it. But I saw this picture of JD Vance today, and I just was like, oh, I wonder if he's over there, if he's wearing his makeup for the National Police Week. No, I guess he's
Police Week was last week though.
So, I don't know. Aaron Rupar posted it yesterday.
Well, usually Police Week is like last week, or maybe it is this week because it's a little later. It's always around this time of year.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me back in the day, Police Week used to be my favorite time of the year because of all the reasons. And as I have so much fun, I have all these pictures of me doing like Jaeger bomb shots with police officers from all different police departments at the Irish Times in Washington, D.C. I used to have so much fun. And then they ruined Police Week. And also there's a sobering part of Police Week too, which is the candlelight vigil for all the fallen officers at the National Law Enforcement Memorial, which is very moving. And but since Donald Trump came into office and then decided that he likes that insurrectionists are actual heroes and things,
yeah,
it's ruined. Yeah, it's Gestapo week now, and it's all fucked up though.
But either way, I guess he's not with him overseas. But he did bring his best. He brought his beautiful eyeliner.
Not the smoke at the end of the smoky eye this morning.
Not the smoky eye. And like, you can't tell me that he's got like Elizabeth Taylor eyelashes, because Elizabeth Taylor had like 2 sets of eyelashes, and that's why she had the thing. You can't tell me that that's what it is, because I've seen old pictures of him and he does not have this. So be real. But anyways,
and frankly, the pictures of him making fun of him at the Webbies were hilarious.
Oh, they were really good.
The Cabbage Patch Doll ones were very funny. But I'm sure he's jealous that he's not overseas, because in the Middle East they have that fantastic black eyeliner that it's like ink eyeliner. And when I was over there,
stock up.
Yeah, I was over there at the souks, and I was looking to get some of that because it's so dramatic, and I wanted to get some. And the first time when I went to Qatar in 2011, I did bring some back, and then I didn't remember how to use it properly. So it stayed in its package forever, and then I lost it. And then when I was in Morocco, I was looking to get some, and then I saw some, but I didn't have any of the Moroccan money on me. I needed to go get some more, and it's like really cheap. And I was like, fuck. And then I didn't get any, and I was very
like, I gotta get Victoria back on my liner when I get home.
I need to get some, just like Carrie in Sex and the City too. When she's in the souk and she gets anyway.
I only saw that once. It was not good.
It was terrible, but
it was a really bad movie. But anyways, so JD Vance is not with them. But they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff and saluting South
generals. That's great. How does our military feel about that?
Right. And again, I don't know if he knows he's not supposed to do that, or if he just does it like he knows and it does it anyways. Like, I don't. And neither.
No, he does. Michelle, he doesn't know. He just he's just like, oh, I'm president. I'm supposed to salute. I think you don't salute other people's military, you jackass.
Didn't he do it in to the North Koreans too?
Yes. He's a jackass, ignoramus that doesn't listen to the protocol briefings.
Yeah.
Please. And then, of course, there's the whole controversy over this plane that the Qataris want to give him.
Yeah.
Now, it's not a gift, it's a bribe. So I wish that the media would stop calling it a gift.
Here's
it's
a
not
gift.
a gift. This is not a thing. You don't get a $400 million gift from a foreign government. It's not a thing. And the Qataris have spent $100 billion over the years to ingratiate themselves and rehab their image in America.
Yep.
The trip that I was on to Qatar was when I was a congressional staffer. Okay. I was a congressional staffer, and my boss was on the Qatar caucus because they were important during that time, negotiating certain things with the war on terror. So they did have value, but of course they also have more money than God over there.
Yes.
And they just throw that money around. That
it's like nothing.
It was unbelievably opulent, but it was all within the rules. But they pushed the line. And then ever since then, they've been, investing more and more and more into American companies. As a matter of fact, the Qataris built City Center in D.C. Anyone who's been to Washington, D.C. in the last 10 years, they know that the downtown area is called City Center and has all these high-end shops and all this mixed use, beautiful high rises and stuff. It's where Kellyanne Conway and a bunch of Trump's people lived when they were in the first term. These expensive apartments.
Of
the
course,
Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund invested in all of that.
Which
they are throwing money around.
I'm throwing this back up here. This is what the inside of that plane looks like, and
that's great because the Qataris are a monarchy that has more money than God. And the thing about the Qataris is that they were like pearl farmers. Okay. That's what they did until they discovered liquid natural gas. And then now that's what's made them rich because they share in the north part of Qatar off the coast there. They share some gas fields under the ocean there with Iran. So there's all kinds of very interesting dynamics that go on in that region, but that's where they got their money from. 30 years ago, it was just a blip in the desert. And now it's like competing with Dubai and UAE and all those other places. And they've been throwing their money around. They also, and I did my sound off today. So if you go to YouTube and do the Setmayer sound off, I do a whole thing about this, that the Qataris have also, they were paying Pam Bondi and her firm $115,000 a month for lobbying services. So Pam Bondi, as the Attorney General, signing off at this $400 million gift, it's not a gift, is somehow legal and okay, is absurd because she's in the pocket of the Qataris.
And you know who else is?
Oh, yes. Kash Patel, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, and Mike Huckabee. They all have been paid money by the Qataris in some capacity.
So if you're listening, not watching, we got an article here from Mother Jones. It says, we still don't know what Kash Patel did as a consultant for Qatar. And it says during his confirmation process that he failed to disclose significant personal financial information. So shocking. Until the Senate hearing in January on his nomination to become FBI director. One peculiar item listed on his financial disclosure form received no attention during that hearing. Patel's work as a consultant for the Embassy of Qatar. On this document, Patel did not specify what he did for Qatar or how much he was even paid.
Can I just say right now that if this had been the other way around, Republicans just put the name Hunter Biden.
Oh my God.
Next to that.
Never would have.
Put the name, I don't know, Christopher Wray, who was the last FBI director. If he were a quote consultant and didn't disclose it, we don't know what he did. You're supposed to register as a foreign agent when you deal with foreign governments like this. There are lots of rules about these things to protect the American people.
It's not illegal. You can do it. But
yes, you can do it.
You can do it. You just have to register.
But that's what the FARA Act is, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. It's to prevent this type of corruption.
That's right.
And all of these people and what I just listed and what they did for Qatar is all very questionable because you think that they're not going to give favorable treatment to Qatar. Of course they are.
Right.
When Steve Witkoff's company gets a $623 million real estate deal to bail them out of a failed real estate deal, or again, Jared Kushner and
Yep.
his family's real estate problems with that property, 666 Fifth
On
Avenue.
Fifth Avenue.
They went to the Qataris to try to
What an
get them to
address.
buy. Yeah, I know. To try to get them to refinance that failing property. And the Qataris actually said no at one point. And there was this whole thing about the blockade with Saudi Arabia and the Qataris and all of this. Well, guess what? Jared Kushner's property ended up getting bailed out by someone else, by Brookfield. And Brookfield, guess who's the second most invested in that Brookfield fund? The Qataris. So indirectly, the Qataris
they found a
bail them out.
workaround.
They found a way. So all of this stinks to high heavens.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just give a couple details here. You know, Tara listed off who's connected. It was Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, said she represented worked for a lobbying firm that represented Qatar. Pam Bondi lobbied for the Qataris to the tune of what, $150,000 a month? You said, Tara?
115. Yeah.
It's just like whatever at that point. Mike Huckabee, now U.S. ambassador to Israel, was paid $50,000 to visit Qatar in 2018. Steve Witkoff, special envoy to the Middle East, pocketed money from Qatar. The Park Lane Hotel that was, failing and needed help, $623 million deal. And then that's, not that there's a Trump. Oh, the Trump organization itself recently struck a deal to develop a luxury golf course in Qatar.
Yep.
That doesn't even include the $400 million stupid plane, which, by the way, no one seems to be talking about this. The Qataris have been trying to get rid of that plane for years.
Yeah.
It's not like it's some new plane that they're going to give him.
No.
It's like an old plane and they don't want it anymore and they're trying to get rid of it. And so they're going to be like, oh, here, take this,
And again, and not to beat a dead horse here with this, but you don't take a foreign government's plane for Air Force One. They would have to strip this thing down to its rivets in order to make sure it doesn't have any surveillance, anything in it. Okay. This is a national security risk, which is why Boeing, an American company, has always built Air Force One.
That's
now,
right.
Boeing has its own problems.
Yes.
And they are behind on the new Air Force Ones because the current fleet is getting a little old. And Donald Trump was talking about, oh, he's frustrated that they haven't delivered the plane yet, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? This plane wouldn't be ready to fly during this administration either. They have to retrofit it, and it would cost money.
$1 billion for this plane. That's the estimate.
It's such a boondoggle. It's a fucking boondoggle.
And he's not going to give up the plane. Like the plane, then he wants it for his library after that, which, by the way,
bullshit.
The library means I'm going to take it and it's mine now. Like that's the thing about all of this, because in the end, as we all know, it's all about Donald Trump.
Right, because his own plane is falling apart, and he's such a cheap bastard that he doesn't want to pay to get a new one. So this is all
that
gross.
Plane is old AF. Like, I mean, seriously, it's probably got the no smoking sign still inside of it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, listen, 747s are workhorses, and they, they last a long time.
Trust me, me and my flying fear, I have done all the studying on the 747s. I know all there is to know about what workhorses they are and how they can be pushed to their limits. They're great planes.
It's true, they are, but still. And listen, if he wants to, it's not unprecedented for a plane to go to a presidential library. Ronald Reagan's library has an decommissioned old Air Force One there. But that's a Boeing plane that was decommissioned to go to Ronald Reagan's library. It wasn't some kind of, foreign
And don't they
bride.
need need some nuclear blast protection thing on? Like there's all kinds of stuff
it
that
has
go
to be
on.
able to be refueled in the air. Like listen, it's asinine, and it's just another example of Donald Trump and the grift. This is the White House for sale. This is the whole what can I do to enrich myself? And to be honest, this kind of takes away from the bigger picture here, which is what we started to touch on, which is the grift.
Right.
The conflicts of interest here are enormous.
Enormous.
And that needs to be the story.
Yes.
And according to polling as of this morning, the American people are Googling Qatar. They're Googling this plane thing. And they're going, oh, wait a minute, we don't like that.
Right.
And because it feels icky, because it is.
It is icky. And I'm going to tell you that the unfortunate part about why it's icky to so many MAGA people, because there are MAGA people, what's his face? Little guy. Shapiro,
Yeah.
he was complaining about it on his podcast, as was many of the others in the MAGA movement. And it was because they're Qatari. It's because they're Arab. It's not the grift that's really bothering them as much as it is, why are we taking a plane from Arabs? Which
Of
is
course.
just like, what?
I
Cool.
know.
Like, do you know what I'm
mean,
saying?
I know.
But to that point, though, I mean, like, because obviously their workaround to not be okay with it is like racist and xenophobic and all the things. But if we're really going to talk about, though, who he was meeting with, like and what's behind that, before we move on to the more of the Pam Bondi conflicts of interest, because there is a long list of those that go far beyond the Qataris, is a man named Jamal Khashoggi, who was a journalist for the Washington Post, and he was brutally murdered, assassinated, dismembered. And Donald Trump took time out of his trip to meet with the people who were responsible for this. And I just want to pull up this. The Daily Beast did an article about this, and it's an opinion piece, but it says how Bezos's Washington Post forgot its martyr as Trump embraced his killer. And so in October of 2018, Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi Arabian journalist and dissident who contributed to the opinion pages of the Washington Post, went to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. I cannot talk to Istanbul. Jesus.
You're still recovering.
Seriously, like, my brain is out today.
That's why my voice is hoarse. We were doing shots of tequila. But anyway, go ahead.
Girl. It was like a 2.5-day hangover. Like,
it was fabulous, though. Worth it.
So as I'm like talking about this like very serious thing,
I know.
Saudi consulate in Istanbul to obtain documents for his forthcoming marriage to a Turkish woman. He was never seen again. Agents of the Saudi government assaulted and killed him. Trigger warning, this is awful. Inside the compound, his body was never recovered, but was reportedly dismembered by a medical specialist using a bone saw. It was a grisly crime that precipitated an international crisis. The Senate passed a resolution condemning the Saudis, pinning the blame on the nation's ruler, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, which you guys have probably heard in the news. This is him. This is Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist and dissident. And, here is the footage of the 15-man hit squad sent to murder Khashoggi was part of the trail of evidence that led to MBS. In the week preceding Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia, the Washington Post offered not a single word about Khashoggi, no opinion columns reminding its readers of Saudi complicity in the crime, no cartoons or editorials memorializing a fallen comrade. Jesus, I can't, Tara.
I'll pick it up from here for you. So
oh my God.
But here's the bottom line.
Yeah.
The Washington Post is now owned by Jeff Bezos, who has decided to kiss the ring and kiss Donald Trump's ass, because during the first term, Donald Trump had to stick up his ass for Bezos because he was not falling in line with him. He felt that that he didn't deserve a big contract with the Department of Defense. It was a $10 billion cloud computing contract that Amazon AWS, their cloud computing services, had actually won in a contractual procurement process. The Trump administration stepped in and made them do it again because he didn't want them to get it. And also he was using the post office to try to screw over Bezos with Amazon, because Amazon negotiated rates with the Postal Commission.
Right.
And Donald Trump didn't like any of this. So he had it out for Bezos the first time around, which explains why Bezos bent the knee this time.
Yeah, why he's Trump's little bitch now, even though he doesn't need to be. I mean, that's the thing about that that's just insane.
And
we
already know.
Well, right. And this paragraph here just saying, and again, the performative stuff. I'm not inside Bezos's head. I don't know what he's thinking here. But in October 2019, he attended a vigil at the Saudi consulate marking the first anniversary of his death with Khashoggi's fiance, and tweeted out a photo of it, hashtag Jamal. And it's just kind of like, okay, but here we are 6 years later. And the last line of this article, it went quietly just one more act of forgetting. And like, again, this is all the shit that we just keep forgetting. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Saudi Arabia and September 11th. And that's why
Mhm.
people are so upset about Live Golf and like their
Yes.
9/11 trophy that they give out. I mean, it's insane. And that's the thing. It's just like, what matters? It's
That's
so
right.
selective now. And what matters really, I mean, to Donald Trump and the people around him, what matters is what's good for him, what's good for the
Right.
Trump organization and
Right.
their business, you know,
And he
golf
also
courses and hotels.
And he also gets off on the fealty part of it.
Yeah.
Donald Trump gets off on this, and
Mhm.
these guys keep giving him that pleasure. And it's
Yep.
very frustrating because there are lots of folks who have decided not to do that. And it
Mhm.
comes at a great cost. It is
Mhm.
not easy doing the right thing. Integrity is in short supply in this business, as
Yep.
we experience every single day. And so,
Girl.
yeah, I know. I mean, we know from personal experience, trust us, okay? Democracy was not a business decision for people like us. It's the business decision for a lot of other people. And they
Mhm.
have enriched themselves on this, and they have enriched themselves on going to the dark side also. And
Mhm.
so that's why we're so passionate about this, because for us, it was not a business decision. It was to do the right thing. And it
Yep.
has come at great personal cost to us. Trust
Mhm.
me. And for people like Jamal Khashoggi and others who literally put their lives on the line to be journalists and to tell stories and to tell the truth,
Yep.
and to see people like Bezos and our government betray them. Or think about those military men and women who put their lives on the line to defend democracy and our freedoms, to
Mhm.
watch what this administration is doing to our Constitution. It is infuriating, but that's what fuels the resistance. That's why you see people marching in the streets. That's why you see people starting to speak up now, because that's what it's going to take. And
Yep.
we use all these examples to show people that this is not okay. So if you are not okay with that, then join the resistance and do
Mhm.
something about it. Do
Yeah.
something about it.
Yep. And that's one of the things I actually was talking to Jim Acosta about just, in passing
Mm-hmm.
at the Webbies on Monday is, do you the way that I approach people now, even in my personal life, is are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution?
Right.
There is no straddling the line
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And, this comes from like a lot of the wealthy people on the left who I'm talking like wealthy, wealthy, wealthy people
Mm-hmm.
who, even if their side loses, they never really lose because they have so much money and so much privilege that they'll never have to worry about their safety or anything like that. And, there's people that I know that participated in the inauguration of Donald Trump, not as a fan or someone who supported him and gave money to the other side, but that was a line too far for me. I'm like, I can't anymore. Like, and
Right.
now that we're 3-4 months out, I feel, as sad as it is to kind of have to not be with, people in my life anymore. But I feel okay about it because I am standing firm in my principles
Mm-hmm.
and, be part of the solution or part of the problem. And
Yeah.
Jim said, he was like, listen, now that I'm doing my own thing now, he's like, that's kind of how I have to be in my life too. And
Yes.
he's been on the receiving end of Donald Trump personally going after him,
Correct.
taking his press pass, taking
That's
his
right.
First Amendment right away from him.
He wrote a whole book about it called Enemy of the People.
Right.
And, Jim Acosta was an example of some of the people that he went after to persecute and try to intimidate in the first time around. And he
Yep.
survived, and he's standing tall. So
Yep.
there is a reward for standing up and doing the
Sure.
right thing, but it is not easy. It's
Look at
just not.
the Capitol Police officers. I mean, my
Yes.
God,
Yes. I mean, yeah, it's a
the
perfect
price that they have
example.
had to pay, the price that they have had to
It's
pay.
unbelievable. And I think that challenges our country, and it challenges
Mhm.
the people who support MAGA, or the people who say, well, I don't like how he does things, but I like the tax cuts. Really? You don't get to separate that out this time around. We saw
No.
what he's done. He pardoned violent insurrectionists who almost killed police officers.
Yeah.
Okay. This administration is giving Ashley Babbitt's family a $30 million
Mhm.
settlement. The crazy bitch that tried to jump through a broken window as they were violently taking down the Capitol and advancing toward the speaker's office. Okay. I'm sorry she got shot, but she fucking deserved it. If you're going to do that and you're going to be involved in a violent insurrection, you're going to get fucking shot. And
Right.
so she's not a martyr. Her family doesn't
There
deserve
was a
one
mob of
dime. Her
right.
family doesn't deserve one fucking dime of taxpayer money. when we have our Capitol police officers and Metro police officers who are suffering and had to do GoFundMes to feed their families because of this motherfucker and what they did. And every Republican that supported it, that claims that he backed the blue or says that they have no problem with those pardons, they have no standing whatsoever to talk about who's a patriot and who isn't. Ever again. So that's what we're dealing with. And we have to hold them accountable. We have to be the conscience. We cannot just sit back and go, well, what do I say? There's no such thing as being a lukewarm democracy defender.
No.
Either you believe in it or you don't.
Get in or get out. And
That's
get
it.
out of my way, quite
That's
frankly, too.
That's right.
And
that's exactly right.
And that's where, you know, the media is failing us too, because they're not connecting the dots. They are not connecting the dots. And like, thank God for a lot of independent journalists now and writers and commentators and Substack. And like, there are people who are out there trying to fill the gap as legacy media just is, you know, seeing itself out the door. And part of those dots that's right. Part of the dots that aren't exactly being connected are about Pam Bondi, because her road of conflicts of interest is a very long one.
Yes.
And there's a whole bunch here, but this is from the Senate Committee on the Judiciary from the 15th of January of this year.
So just so people understand that this is before her confirmation hearing. So there was an opportunity.
Donald Trump,
right. There's an opportunity here to bring all of this up and to make it not easy for her.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So just the headline here in whatever statement this is: Pam Bondi's extensive lobbying for wealthy special interests and foreign government poses serious conflict of interest, was what we talked about with the Qataris. That she was a registered lobbyist with the Washington, D.C. based firm Ballard Partners and was represented wealthy special interests and foreign governments, presenting serious potential conflicts of interest if she was confirmed as Attorney General. And again, this is 5 days before Donald Trump even becomes president. It says, when presenting information to the committee, Pam Bondi only listed two potential conflicts: her work for America First Policy Institute and her brother's legal practice, who, by the way, her brother is running for the head of the DC bar. So if you know any lawyers who can practice law in Washington, D.C., they have some more time to cast their ballots here. It is very important that they cast their ballot for not him. So,
well, I would actually push back on that.
Really?
Yes, I would push back on that. I had an opportunity to meet her brother, who is actually lovely. I spent an evening with him at a dinner. I thought it was initially her husband when I saw the invite list, and I was actually making jokes about, oh my God, if I get seated next to Pam Bondi's husband, that's going to be a disaster. I got seated next to Pam Bondi's brother, who I thought was going to be her husband. And I had to chuckle to myself because I went, oh my God, I have to sit here at this dinner next to this guy. Well, come to find out, he's actually nothing like her. And he's an amazing lawyer. And he has adopted an adopted son who he rescued from a heroin addicted mother when he was 10 years old. And when I talked to him about that, I started to get to know him. I actually spent the majority of my evening talking to him and getting to know him. And I would say that he couldn't be any more different than her. So I'm just to say, I prejudged him.
I understand, but I do feel like the closeness of family members is a little close for me, just personally.
That's fair, but I would say that you can't. I mean, if you saw some of the people in my family, they're nothing like me.
Oh,
so I would just, you know what I mean? Like, so I would just say,
and you know my with my siblings and stuff. So, you know, I get it. I get it. But, you know, I also don't know. So
that's why
and also George Conway is out there.
I shared the story.
Well, George Conway is out there telling, you know, DC lawyers who to vote for, and it's not him too. So just FYI.
That's fine. Everybody has George is in that world too. And also, you know,
because my husband, Joe, can practice, you know, is part of the DC bar.
Yeah.
So I was telling him, because he's like, who am I supposed to vote for? And I actually DM'd George and I was like, I don't remember. Please tell me. Is there a slate? I don't even know how this works.
Yeah. Did he answer you?
Not yet.
Yeah.
But going back to Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
So the bigger thing here, because we've already talked about Qatar, okay, is lobbying on behalf of private prisons.
Mhm.
Bondi lobbied for the Geo Group, a private prison company that has faced criticism for safety violations, providing inadequate health care, and poor management practices. These actions have negatively impacted the welfare and rights of incarcerated individuals and immigration detainees. Again, this was in January that this was written. And the Geo Group stands to earn hundreds of millions of dollars during the Trump administration as ICE is its largest source of revenue. Okay.
So on this, and just so that we don't, people's eyes don't glaze over. So Pam Bondi was a lobbyist for the Qataris. She was a lobbyist for the Geo Group, which is one of the largest private prison industry leaders in the country. They are also the recipients of a $1 billion 15-year contract for, wait for it, drum roll, Delaney Hall
So
in Newark, New Jersey,
So
which is at
that's
the center of the controversy from last week, where you had the arrest of the mayor of Newark and the manhandling and roughing up of 3 members of Congress. Pam Bondi was the lobbyist for the Geo Group that runs Delaney Hall in Newark. This is all so gross as far as the conflicts of interest here, because it's not just Newark where they're building these detention centers. They are also building them in another state like Michigan. What did I say? And I didn't know this when I talked about this with the Gretchen Whitmer stuff. What did I say would happen in Michigan? I said, what's going to happen when they decide to bring these detention center concentration camps to the state of Michigan? Is Gretchen Whitmer going to be okay with what they're doing there? I had no idea that now that this same company is looking to expand their capacity in Michigan. They had a capacity of 41,000 beds across the country. They want to expand that to 100,000 quote beds. And this is part of their plan. So this is all just conflict of interest, corruption to the highest heavens. And why is this story not being told? To Michelle's point about connecting the dots. That's what needs to be told. Not Jake Tapper and his fucking book with Alex Thompson about Joe Biden. These are the stories that need to be told. This is what matters right now. The American people need to know the story behind Delaney Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And what Pam Bondi and all these conflicts of interest that she has as a lobbyist. So Thank God there was pretty much only one Democrat that voted to confirm her, and that was John Fetterman. And that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Which I did a Substack live about with Julie a week or 2 ago, which is a whole thing. But, and actually one of the, if not the only person who's written about this and connected the dots is our friend, Julie Roginski. Salty Politics is her Substack. I have it here. It says the corruption of Pam Bondi's DOJ. And she talked about, what happened.
That's right.
About Ras Baraka getting arrested. And the whole thing is just insane.
The other part about this too that is outrageous is that Ras Baraka was there as the mayor of Newark because this detention facility has been controversial for quite some time. It doesn't have the proper permitting. It needs a whole lot of upgrades. It's a shithole. And so they've been in protest of having this detention center there for a long time. And the city of Newark sued Geo about this. They're suing them. So all of this, that's why it wasn't just some he was some raucous protester and he was trespassing. That's all bullshit. It is all bullshit. The cameras, that the body cam doesn't show that. He was on the public side of the fence. The members of Congress were there for a righteous oversight visit, which they're allowed to do, and which they were actually given after all of this.
For a planned visit. Yeah.
Yes, they were given the visit after all the ruckus and after the mayor was arrested. So you can't tell me that Baraka wasn't targeted because he decided to stand up to them. Now, they couldn't arrest the mayor, the members of Congress at the time, because they actually have a right to be on federal property. It's part of their job. So that's why they gave them the tour. They had to. So this bullshit that Alina Habba who is the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey, Northern New Jersey, the, Tits McGee bitch from Bedminster that Donald Trump brought on his legal team that lost every single case he ever had. She's now the acting U.S. attorney in New Jersey. She was a parking garage attorney, okay? She's out here lying on Fox News and in the news, trying to say that those members of Congress were assaulting,
putting their hands on them,
the federal agents,
which Tom Homan then repeated on Fox News today. I have the clip. Hold on.
Mush mouth.
Attorney General to prosecute you. You can't cross that line.
Have you talked to AG Pam Bondi about this, Tom?
No, I've talked to Lena Haba, the acting U.S. attorney in that area.
Yes.
Lena's taking it serious. Going through a lot of videotape, talking to a lot of witnesses, and we'll see where the investigation falls. But I saw the video. I think
I don't know what happened here.
Well, we can.
Anyways,
we can
you
save
get
us
the
any
point.
more of the mush mouth.
He always sounds like his teeth are falling out, and then he's trying for his teeth to not fall out of his mouth.
What is his deal? I mean, I just don't get it. He's gross, and not
right.
No, not at all. And this is the guy that him and Stephen Miller are running immigration, along with the corrupt Pam Bondi. And then the other one, the Ice Barbie herself, Kristi Noem.
Who, by the way, in the group chat, so we have the world's greatest group chat.
Yeah. We have a couple of good group chats.
We do, actually. With JoJo from Jers, if you know her.
Yes.
And Julie Roginski and Mallory and our Emily, who works with us on our show Over It. Anyways, so Julie wrote this. She was like, is this an effing joke? The Daily Beast, Kristi Noem wants migrants to compete for citizenship on Hunger Games style reality show.
No.
This is today.
Did I call it? I called it.
You did. This is today at 7:51 p.m. I'm going to just screenshot this so people don't think I'm making this up. Don't judge me by the tabs I have open on my Safari, because I've been doing some eBay shopping. But I am just going to screenshot this and put this up because it has to be seen to be believed. This is insane. Oh my God.
From the very beginning, I said that this administration would be a combination of the Hunger Games and Celebrity Apprentice. I'm on record saying this multiple times from the beginning. And here we fucking go. Literally, the Hunger Games. I can't. And also, doesn't she want her own plane? Didn't she say she wanted her own $60 million plane or something?
Yes, she does. I actually read that today.
Yeah,
that is
and
correct.
she also had a pretty rough hearing this week. She was up in the Senate and got dragged. Yeah. Here's the headline from the Daily Beast. Kristi Noem wants migrants to compete for citizenship on new reality show. This is just, all I'm going to say is that all the people, not the MAGA crazies, but the other people who are making excuses for this administration because they, I don't know, didn't want a black woman or because they were afraid of social issues or whatever dumb shit that prevented them from voting for Kamala Harris. Y'all are good with this? You're happy with this? I don't understand. It just, how could anyone in their right mind look at what this administration does on a daily basis and say, I'm proud to be an American? I would challenge them.
I am honestly without words.
Yeah. Well, these are the same people who, like Donald Trump, wanted to build a moat and have spikes at the top of the border wall so people could be impaled when they tried to climb it or get eaten by alligators.
Yeah, snakes and crocodiles.
But we just can't tolerate this. We just can't. We just cannot.
And you sent something in the group chat with Marcus too. We were talking about, just because we've been talking a lot about June 14th and the military parade.
Yes.
What's the number that's up to that they want to spend?
So the number now is 45 million or 42 million, which I still think is an an undercount because the last time they claimed it was going to be $90+ million.
Right.
So how is it only half? And it sounds like it's going to be bigger than before.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also raised the number of troops. Originally, they said it was going to be 6,000, 6,500. Well, now it's already up to 7,500. So this is not okay. And for those who are wondering, we had a meeting with Indivisible, and we are looking to be working on doing something with this June 14th day of protest against this atrocity that's going to happen. We want to celebrate the Army. It's the Army's birthday, but we're also going to make it known that we don't have military parades for kings and for dictators like they do in other countries, which is what Donald Trump is perverting this day into. So there'll be more information to come on that. We had some preliminary meetings about where we can be helpful in this effort, because they're looking to do some, national protests and things. But yeah, I mean, we just can't be quiet about this stuff. We just can't.
No, we have to be loud as hell. And that's the thing, is like, a lot of people ask us, what can I do? What can I do? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know right now. Sometimes unless I say, stay engaged, keep calling your representatives, keep showing up, keep going outside, yelling in the streets. I mean, don't be violent, but march when you can, make your voices heard, continue, because you know what I'm going to tell you right now is that it is becoming apparent that especially the Democrats are not going to show up anywhere unless we literally, and I mean, figuratively, drag them there. Because until their constituents and they're going to see people in the streets so much that they're going to go, shit.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think it's important for people to understand that there are fighters in the Democratic Party who are out there. They need to be supported, because Democratic leadership, speaking of dragging, Democratic leadership is being dragged, kicking and screaming, into being fighters. They're still being way too cautious. They're still trying to play it safe, which we don't have time for.
No.
And some of the internecine warfare that's going on within the party over this is ripping the party apart. Polling just this week came out, Puck did it with Echelon, showed that the Democratic brand is still underwater.
Yeah.
And that Donald Trump is still polling better. After all of this, that is a failure on the part of the Democratic Party, because they can't get their fucking acts together. And what they keep doing is they keep pushing aside or chastising the people who are trying to do things. Like, they actually got mad at Indivisible because they were organizing town halls to go after the Democrats too in their home districts to say, hey, you need to fight for us. That's insane.
And
what
now,
are you doing?
Right. And now they're mad at Jasmine Crockett.
Right.
And Sammy Sage, if you know Sammy Sage from Betches News, and she does a podcast with Under the Desk News. They posted a video about this, and I messaged her, and I was like, because I've been hearing the same thing, and we talked for we tried to get her on the show tonight, and she had something at 7, so she couldn't join us. So hopefully next time. But I just want to play just a little bit of this so that they explain it very clearly, and it's good.
Raging story today about Jasmine Crockett, the Oversight Committee.
Why?
You remember a few months ago, there was the election for the minority ranking member of Oversight, and Jerry Connolly won.
This was the one where AOC was also running, and Nancy Pelosi was whipping votes from her hospital bed in Luxembourg.
And he announced just a few weeks ago that his cancer came back and he's not going to be running for re-election. Technically, that role does not turn over until the end of the term. In the meantime, Hakeem Jeffries has essentially chosen another congressperson, Representative Stephen Lynch, to take over that interim position. What it appears is going on is that Connolly's official resignation from the seat is being delayed a bit because of what appears to be sort of behind the scenes party machinations, where Hakeem Jeffries wants to make sure that there's someone else who can win the seat that is not Jasmine Crockett.
I'm going to pause right there. That is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane. I'm going to fast forward a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because they get into basically how the Stephen Lynch guy is conservative. He's
Right.
pro-life.
Right.
And so they're trying to say, well, no, it can't be ranking member. It's got to be seniority. Well, if it was seniority, it wouldn't even be Stephen Lynch.
That's correct. It would
It'd
be
be
Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's 100
Correct.
years old. And I love Eleanor. I've known her for many years. We used to sit together on a show called To the Contrary on PBS for a decade. And Eleanor is wonderful. She's a sweet woman, tough. She is the representative from Washington, D.C. She's been in that seat for 30 years. She was one of the first people to tell me to marry my husband. So I adore her. However, her time has come.
Yes.
And she really needs to, we don't want a Kay Granger situation again. And she really needs to give up that seat. So I say that with love, but I say that to say that she is not equipped to be in the position of vice chair of the ranking member of the oversight committee, which is a hugely important committee. So this Stephen Lynch guy is also someone who voted for the Lake and Riley Act.
Right.
He also voted against the some healthcare stuff. Like he is a moderate, but not in a good way.
No.
For them in this moment right now.
No.
And he doesn't rock the boat.
No, if we think that the liberal Democrats aren't like fighting back, I mean, this guy seriously is never
definitely not. Now, someone else that is under consideration is also Robert Garcia. Of course, we're Team Jasmine here, and she absolutely should be there because it doesn't matter whether she has seniority or not. She's an effective communicator and she's a brawler. She's a brawler. So she knows how to keep people engaged. And that's what they need. The old system of how they choose party chairs and how they choose committee chairs and all of that is out the window. The Republicans abandoned that shit because they saw the writing on the wall that you need to have stars who know how to communicate in these positions so that they can get the sound bites, so they can challenge people in the committee hearings, so they can be a part of setting the narrative. And if you want to be an effective opposition, you would think that the Democrats would have learned by what happened with Jerry Nadler when he was
Jesus Christ,
right? Judiciary chairman, during the impeachment.
Trust me, because the Upper West Side was so excited it was going to be Jerry.
Oh my
Trust
God.
me. Like, I heard all about it. And then he got in there and I was like,
and it was a big fat dud. Because
nothing.
They are not the old school, the old guard isn't equipped for this moment.
No.
Jasmine Crockett is. And the fact that she would be penalized for being out there doing the grunt work. She's raised all this money. She's been to dozens and dozens and dozens of events to support fellow Democrats. She's out here putting her life on the line. I saw Jasmine on Monday at the Webby Awards. She was not sitting with everyone else at the Webby Awards because she got so many death threats that it was advised she not be in crowds. She doesn't have a security detail. So, I mean, I had to go meet her in a private VIP room at the Webby Awards to just go say hello and to give her a hug. And that is absurd. And she's being passed over because why? This is bullshit. So for those of you guys support Jasmine Crockett, please let it be known. Call leadership. She deserves to be that. They already passed over AOC, which they shouldn't have done the first time.
And she's now voluntarily taken her name out, which I'm sure she just felt like she had to or something. And
there's a lot of politics here.
Right. A lot of politics. And I just want to play just like the last bit of this because it's talking about like the problem that the Democrats are really having. And it's, look at that. Like if you can see right there, that's the word cloud basically that you were talking about with Puck.
Democratic Party are weak, corrupt, disorganized. And then you have someone like Jasmine Crockett who breaks through.
It's like a concerning level of consistently bad choices and denial of the place that we're in. The page has turned. They haven't turned with it.
There's also a reason that her name has broken through while she has not even been in Congress for 4 years. I just heard of Stephen Lynch today.
Right. That's exactly right.
Had no idea who he was. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's just it's frustrating as hell. But then again, also, I told Jazz, I told her, I said, you keep your head up because the people out here have your back. And you keep doing what you know is the right thing to do. Let the Democratic leadership have to answer for why they're feckless.
Right. And you and I were talking just privately today just about how like while the Democrats can't get their shit together, they're not doing anything. And like they're not saying anything. And there's a couple that are, okay. Like Chris Murphy, I'm saying yes, absolutely. Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, absolutely yes. But meanwhile, there's all this crazy shit going on day in and day out. Specifically, with what we do here at Seneca Project, obviously our mission has broadened to bigger things through the lens of two women running this organization. But when we see that the Trump administration is about to ban the abortion pill, which provides the end of pregnancy to over 50% of women in this country who seek abortions. And that is sometimes, very often, actually, women who are going through miscarriages, who can't, complete their miscarriages. It is a very common medication that is very safe. So what is happening now? RFK Jr. orders mifepristone review as anti-abortion groups push for the ban. Health Secretary cites new data that emerged from flawed study conservatives are using to pressure the U.S. government. Now, this new data, it's not true. It's like fake, phony science, like everything else that RFK Jr. is saying, and that all these bullshit conservatives, they'll say anything. And it's all the anti-abortion groups that are using this pressure with this fake new data, and it's craziness. And who's pushing this the most and using their time is Josh Hawley, Senator Josh Hawley. Guess who his wife is? That is his wife. Here's the New York Times. Erin Hawley, the woman arguing against the abortion pill. Erin Hawley, a law professor and wife of Senator Josh Hawley, is arguing the Supreme Court case. I mean, this is, again, like the conflicts of interest, like over and over and over again.
Yep.
This is his wife. And it says, a law professor from 5 generations of ranchers, the wife of Senator Josh Hawley. This is her thing. This is their mission in life.
Yep.
Okay. It says here she joined in a lawsuit against California's attorney general at the time, who was Kamala Harris. A judge found that the challengers could show no direct injury and dismiss the case, because this is what they keep trying to say, is that the abortion pill, the mifepristone, is dangerous. It is not. In fact, it's the safest way to end a pregnancy or, complete a miscarriage. It's the safest way. And so on a Tuesday, for the first time since overturning Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court considered a case involving nationwide limits on abortion access. So that's from that article. But this is his wife, who he loves, supposedly. And there's lots of pictures of them kissing on the internet, and it is my favorite thing ever, because
didn't he write a bunch of books or some shit about being a man or some nonsense?
I don't know. This tweet really puts it together from Paul Rudnick. It says, while campaigning, Josh Hawley kissed his wife, Erin, with all the manly passion of a 4-year-old eating beets, Lindsey Graham and his imaginary girlfriend, someone forced to kiss his Nana, 2 people chewing the same stick of gum, and a Christian who watched a kissing tutorial.
Oh my God.
But then if you see Josh Hawley with what's his name? The guy from the Chiefs, the kicker. What's his name?
Yeah. He's on my fantasy league team, actually.
Yeah. Well,
last season, but him.
Listen, Josh Hawley never looked happier. That's all I'm gonna say.
Or when he was running like a bitch during the January 6th
was
insurrection.
that before or after he put his fist up in the air? Like, Josh Hawley's just such a little bitch, and I can't. And it's clearly that this is like a family business to take away healthcare from women and make sure that women die and bleed out in parking lots. So it says here from Mother Jones, RFK Jr. is coming for abortion bills. Yes, we told everyone that they were going to, because you know what? And here's the thing that you sent me earlier. Reproductive freedom for all condemns RFK Jr.'s call for FDA to review. So what's happening is they're calling for a review. And what RFK Jr. said out loud is that, well, we're going to call for the review because of this fake data. And at the end of the day, it'll be left to the Trump administration, which we all know how that's going to end.
We warned you. The point is here that we warned you. And a week before, RFK was on the Hill testifying, which also didn't go well for him, because he told people, oh, you shouldn't listen to me. You don't take medical advice from me. No shit. But you're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. That's great. But a week before that came out, there was an article in Politico about this group called the Rolling Thunder. That is the same group of people that helped to get Dobbs. Roe v. Wade overturned. They are now coming for mifepristone. And as someone astutely pointed out in our comments, this is the drug that they use if you're having a miscarriage to help save your life. It's not just about, oh, I'm going to pop a pill so I can kill my unborn baby. It's not that flippant. And people need to stop this shit. which is
No.
why it's important that real scientists and doctors in the medical community speak up about this, and that we don't let junk science dictate public policy, because it will kill women. More
Yes.
women, because women have already died because of this
Yes, and
bullshit.
they're continuing to die. And I just want to show this clip from April of last year. Alex Wagner showed this clip on her show on MSNBC. This is RFK Jr. during the campaign.
RFK Jr. is so far the only candidate in this race who has openly endorsed a national abortion ban. Here's what he told my colleague Ali Vitale on that subject late last year.
I believe that a decision to abort a child should be up to the women during the first 3 months of life.
So 3 months, you would sign a federal cap on that?
Yes, I would.
RFK Jr.'s campaign later tried to walk those comments back, claiming he misunderstood the question. But the video sort of speaks.
I mean, this is a guy who also just doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. He doesn't understand that in Rock Creek Park, when there's sewage in the water, that you shouldn't put your grandkids in it. Like, these are things that he just doesn't know. I don't think he cares. He has brainworms. He's a former addict. I think his brain is mush.
Yeah.
And his face looks like a boil.
But yes.
Yeah.
No, and this is the guy running our Health and Human Services. And so
and he said out loud, the cuts to NIH is going to hurt people. Those words came out of his mouth.
Yeah. And
the ads rate themselves.
And yet people like Senator Cassidy, who's a doctor, voted for this motherfucker. And they could have stopped it.
And meanwhile, this is still more popular than the Democrats.
Right.
Because Democrats can't get their shit together.
That's right. There's a lesson here. You think there's a theme? There's a through line here. Okay, Democrats, let's we're talking to you. Get it together. Get it together before it's too late.
Right. And the Project 2025 situation is what it's in print, guys. Like, it's in print. They put it in a book. They published it. They told us. We tried to tell people. And it's like, and you know, we were on a podcast a couple of weeks ago where we were asked, you know, why do you think women didn't show up in the way that we'd hoped? And I'm like, because I just don't think people believe or want to believe how bad this is. I think, you know, in the states where it was put to a ballot measure, they passed, with an exception of Florida that had that like weird threshold that didn't even make sense.
Yes, that they did that on purpose. It was 60% as opposed to 50 plus 1.
Right. But for that reason, I mean, I think that maybe women who are Republicans, looked at their ballot and said, well, you know, I like Donald Trump, but I want to enshrine my rights as a woman. So I'll vote for Donald Trump, but I'll pass the measure because he said he's not going to sign a federal abortion ban.
That's what happened in Arizona. That's a perfect example. Arizona was a state that went for Trump, but the abortion, you know, codifying a woman's right to choose, was overwhelmingly passed. And we know there was data that said that one of the only things that people didn't believe Trump would do in Project 2025 was the abortion ban.
Yep.
They did a very good job of bullshitting the American people into believing that, oh, he wouldn't do that. He said, he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Just because he said it, give me a break. We all know he's a liar. He's going to say whatever. This is a guy that has a history of flip-flopping on all kinds of things.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He'll say whatever.
But he's bought and paid for by the Leonard Leo networks and the Christian Coalition people.
And the Opus Dei crazies.
All
like
of that.
All of it.
All of that. They are highly anti-women's reproductive rights. And we know this. That is part of the foundation of MAGA. So the fact that, I mean, again, we were a young organization and a small one. Our first ad coming out of the gate was called A Time for Choosing, about this issue and the importance of it. And, you know, we could only do but so much. We're only one little group. But the other groups that had the opportunity to hammer these messages home dropped the ball because they just didn't. People were just going, yeah, but we don't believe it. Okay, well, guess what? We were also one of the first. I know, we were also one of the first organizations to point out that Project 2025 was a thing. It was real, and it was at a time when it was starting to catch fire. And then the media, they dropped the ball because once Donald Trump said, well, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, they just backed off.
They just said, oh, okay, really? Yeah. So I think we should remind people of what we put out about Project 2025.
Yep. Let me
way before everybody else.
I think this video has made me rethink the 19th Amendment.
Will women have the right to vote tomorrow if you wave that magic Christian wand?
No.
A federal ban on abortion, ban mifepristone, ban stem cell research, and expand access to fertility awareness family planning methods.
If you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free.
If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry, it's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
These women are getting paid salaries to play for a league that, economically speaking, shouldn't exist.
Abortion's not health care.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
I would just like to point out that list that Joy Reid was ticking off, 95% of that is happening. 95% of it. They just haven't renamed the Department of Health and Human Services the Department of Life yet. But the banning mifepristone, we're heading toward that. The Head Start cuts, heading toward that. The work requirements for Medicaid, that's in this budget that's going through Congress right now. All of those things, it's all there, and they're ticking it off.
Yep.
And when they tell you and write it down, believe them.
Yes, and that's why I can't with and not to get. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's so dumb, but this is why the Jake Tapper thing is pissing me off so much, is because we had a video that we compared, and this is before Joe Biden dropped out, but I think it's still very telling. I think it still tells a story in this moment of the things that they are choosing to ignore, the things that they chose to ignore. And when you choose to ignore those things, and when you have a platform and a responsibility as a journalist, when you have a convicted sexual assaulter running for president a second time after 34 felonies and insurrection, the list goes on, you have a responsibility to tell that story. Donald Trump is a sexual predator. He is a monster. Joe Biden is old, but he's a decent man.
Yep.
And the fact that we all have to sit here and listen to this again, like it's somehow breaking news. We've talked about this, Jojo and Julie, we've all been talking about this all day, the last 2 days. And,
well,
Jake
you're not the
Tapper,
only ones who've been talking about it, because Jake Tapper, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Jake Tapper and this guy, Alex Thompson, who has a stick up his ass for the Bidens, and we don't know why. It feels almost personal. But CNN hired this guy. He's a reporter for Axios to become a CNN contributor last year. And every time he opened his mouth, he did nothing but denigrate Joe Biden and his family. And this was even before he dropped out of the race. And then apparently him and Jake Tapper got together and decided to write a tell-all book about Joe Biden and his alleged cognitive decline during his presidency, and how there was this big cover-up allegedly within his inner circle to hide this from the American people. So they are pushing this book as if it's news, which feels very, again, conflict of interest.
And reporting it on CNN. They're like, well, new reporting. I'm like, from
every day they have had an excerpt from their book, as it on not only on Jake's show, but on a bunch of other people's shows, pushing this book as if what they're reporting is somehow news now. And obviously, look, if that happened, fine. But again, how is this helping anyone now? This is where we're focusing our energy. When, to Michelle's point, Donald Trump and all the things. You want to talk about cognitive decline? This fucking guy can't put a sentence together. He's talking about groceries are it's an old word, and I've never heard of it. And eggs are, I mean, the guy's losing it. He's wearing makeup on his face that makes him look like shit in a shoe polish jar. I don't understand. And this is fine, but we got to talk about Joe Biden.
So funny, I know.
Get out of here. The double standard is so incredibly frustrating that it's so while Donald Trump is over there overseas taking bribes from the Qataris and God knows who else, selling our country down the fucking Nile, they're leading their stories and taking airtime away from telling the American people what's really going on so they can promote their own book to denigrate Joe Biden.
Yep.
Bullshit. So we
Yep.
have something that we wanted to show, just to
Yep.
show that this is something that we made called The Tale of Two Leaders, to compare the difference. But this is where they chose to put their energy.
The thing that bothers me maybe most about him, he has no respect for women.
You can see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
What's your first name?
Layla.
Layla. Beautiful name.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Imagine having a young woman have to carry a child of incest.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex.
Look at that young woman as if she were your sister. You know it's wrong.
I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I standing there with no club. You see these incredible looking women.
Have the gumption. Step in. Expose him.
I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just I don't even wait.
No means no, no matter what she was wearing, no matter what advance she may have made.
Trump was accused of rape by his ex-wife, Ivana.
It means no in a bedroom, it means no on the street.
Trump was found guilty of sexually abusing Carol in the 1990s in a department store dressing room.
The double abuse of having to go into a trial system, into a court system where they'd be abused once again.
And then defaming her by denying the assault and alleging she invented the story to make money.
Sexual assault is abhorrent and wrong at any time.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the
Mr. Trump raped her. No, Mr. Judge's language, not mine. Raped her.
You know, I mean, come on. Should he have run again? No. Was he too old to run again? Yeah. But you know what? He was a great president. He was the president we needed at the time. He took us out from the god-awful nightmare of Donald Trump round one and COVID, and the country was actually doing pretty great.
With an economy that was the envy
of the world. We recovered faster than anyone else. People were doing all right. Was inflation a little high? Yeah, but you know what? Inflation was 9.3% under Biden as a byproduct of what Trump did with COVID. And he got it down to 2.4% in September of 2024. 2.4% inflation. Where was that story being told? It wasn't. They allowed the American people to believe that inflation was still too high and was ruining our economy. And it wasn't. Now, that's a failure on the part of the Democrats and Joe Biden being too humble and too much of a statesman to take credit for everything. They also passed the greatest infrastructure bill we've had in 50 years. No one knew it because they didn't brag about it the way that Donald Trump would do and put his name on everything, because that wasn't the old way of doing things. When you're a quiet governor, when you're doing the work as the president, it's boring, but not in this day and age. And that was a huge mistake for them.
I love
huge
boring.
Mistake.
I
know,
boring.
because boring means that things are working.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, this is where we are. This is what happened. But this is serving no one now, to ruin this man's legacy who spent 50 years serving this country.
That's what gets me too,
years.
Tara. That's what gets me is the decades and decades of this man's sacrifice while he experienced some of the greatest loss that any can imagine. Not once, not twice, 3 times.
Yes.
And, in addition to that, as we sit here in the work that we do, Joe Biden was a champion for the Violence Against Women's Act.
Mm-hmm.
Who was doing that violence? Men like Donald Trump.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And for that reason, I am grateful to Joe Biden. Whether, to your point, should he have run? No, probably not. Is he too old? Yes, obviously. Yeah. It's time for the next generation. However, to tear this man down and to make the kind of money that they're making off of this, dragging him and using people from the Obama administration who didn't like him to jump on the bandwagon yet again, like they did in the summer of last year, to drag this man down. It is elitist. It's bullshit. And I'm so sick of hearing it. David Axelrod, you're one of them. I am so tired of it. I've been reading the tweet. Yeah, David Pluff's the other one. I'm like, yes. And I read, there's an excerpt in a book with the two of them talking about how Joe Biden he didn't go to good enough schools.
Yeah.
You know where he went to law school? Syracuse University. That's where I went to school. That's where he's giving that speech about violence against women, is at my alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what? Like, screw you guys. I'm so like the elite, and this is the elitism within the Democratic Party that people are sick of.
Yes,
We're all
it's a
sick of
problem.
it.
It's
Step
a problem.
outside the DMV and please meet people in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, we can only do what we can do here, and but people are listening, and I don't know what it's going to take for the Democrats to finally get the message, but they better get it together soon because the American people have had enough. They've had an absolute.
We're gonna lose
enough. That's right. It's either you want to win, or do you want to look down your glasses and write another fucking strongly worded letter, Chuck Schumer. Well. As we wrap up the show, I know that we didn't do this in the beginning, and we should have before we close out, because we're going to close out on something really cool that Michelle pointed out and found and posted everywhere. It's an homage to my home state as well, because it is by the boss, Bruce Springsteen. But before we play that out, a lot of folks asked, what was our 5-word Webby acceptance speech?
I have
So we're going to show that to you really quick. And then we're going to play you out with Bruce Springsteen's unbelievable speech at his concert. Is it in Manchester, England? Is that where he was?
Yep.
Yeah, in Manchester, England, that I think is, I'm glad Michelle found it, and I'm glad you guys are going to experience it. So we're going to play you out with our 5-word acceptance speech.
The 5 words going to come on screen with us right now. So let me just put that up.
Girls, American girls, never back down.
Well, you got to start it over. You cut off the beginning.
I know sometimes it does that. I apologize. Sorry. It needs a second to get there on the screen. I'll play it now.
American girls, never back down.
For the red, white, and blue, tell me, girls, what are we gonna do?
And there you have it.
There you have it. So thank you to everyone that sent in your suggestions, and that was the final product. So, and on that note, Michelle, you can play us out with the boss.
Yeah, I last night, just so you guys know, I was just doom scrolling per usual, and Bruce Springsteen posted this. This is from his account, and he opened his tour last night in Manchester, England, and he talks about the America that he has been singing about and talking about for 50 years. Now, Bruce Springsteen, I know people may be more Bon Jovi fans like Tara, but I don't think any of us can deny that Bruce Springsteen is one of the greatest storytellers of his generation and of our time. And the America that Bruce Springsteen talks about and sings about is the America that Joe Biden represents too.
Yep.
And I sat here listening to this over and over last night, just bawling my eyes out, just because everything just feels so awful. And it would just, I don't know, it put some pep in my step, because people need to be talking about this, that all these things are happening and they're happening now. They're not going to happen. They're happening now.
Yep.
And so this is a wake up call. It's a protest and it's a prayer. But it's all good. And so I'm going to play us out with this. I hope you'll stick around and listen to it. It's a few minutes long. So Bruce Springsteen in Manchester last night. And other than that, I hope you'll like and subscribe the Seneca Project on YouTube. And if you want, you can go back into our YouTube. I posted this clip as a standalone, so you can share it as well. So with that said, have a good night, everyone.
We'll see you
soon.
Saturday for
See you
Overage.
Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Good evening. It's great to be in Manchester and back in the UK. Welcome to the Land of Hope and Dreams tour. The mighty E Street Band is here tonight to call upon the righteous power of art, of music, of rock and roll in dangerous times. In my home, the America I love, the America I've written about, that has been a beacon of hope and liberty for 250 years, is currently in the hands of a corrupt, incompetent, and treasonous administration. Tonight, we ask all who believe in democracy and the best of our American experience to rise with us, raise your voices against authoritarianism, and let freedom ring. How we doing, Manchester? All right. The last check on power, after the checks and balances of government have failed, are the people. You and me. It's in the union of people around a common set of values. Now, that's all that stands between democracy and authoritarianism. So at the end of the day, all we've really got is each other. Now, easy, Roy. There's some very weird, strange, and dangerous shit going on out there right now. In America, they are persecuting people for using their right to free speech and voicing their dissent. This is happening now. In America, the richest men are taking satisfaction in abandoning the world's poorest children to sickness and death. This is happening now. In my country, they're taking sadistic pleasure in the pain that they inflict on loyal American workers. They're rolling back historic civil rights legislation that led to a more just and plural society. They're abandoning our great allies and siding with dictators against those struggling for their freedom. They're defunding American universities that won't bow down to their ideological demands. They're removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons. This is all happening now. A majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government. They have no concern or idea of what it means to be deeply American. The America that I've sung to you about for 50 years is real. And regardless of its faults, is a great country with a great people. So we'll survive this moment. Now, I have hope because I believe in the truth of what the great American writer James Baldwin said. He said, in this world, there isn't as much humanity as one would like, but there's enough. Let's pray.